It's Friday, perhaps even a big Friday, as we do reference the biggest numbers for the Bitcoin boo laws to maintain if they are indeed going to pull through here and create that highly esteemed higher low. Anyways, other than that, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. It's a nice little Friday morning. We already said that. That's redundant. You know what? I'm going to shut the hell up, and we're just going to get right on into it. So without further ado, let's go into the regular view right over here. And we can see, starting off with this first chart, if I can reference my, yes, there we go. Beautiful. If I can reference my my screen properly here, we can see that on the weekly time frame for CME, which is closing today, there is a weekly stochastic momentum pivot currently at 27,300. Very important number, as we do see that the weekly stochastic also has come all the way down to the edge of the bearish critical zone after basically being crossed to the downside since, the end of Q1 of this year, starting around in April. Yeah, there's a quick move to the upside right here, but ultimately mostly down since April. And this has gone for a full-on reset now, it looks like. And the current pivot, again, 27,300 for CME today, closing in 16 hours, 32 minutes, and 32 seconds, and counting. This is also a very interesting number just because it is an alignment pretty much perfectly with that yellow 21 exponential moving average, as you can see right here. Just kind of backtesting this throughout the full history of Bitcoin, or through the full history of CME, and yeah, we could do the same thing for Bitcoin or spot Bitcoin as well. You can generally see that when Bitcoin's above it, generally bullish. When Bitcoin's below it, generally bearish. And then, of course, the slope of it also does matter as well. As right now, the slope is slightly negative, but I would say this is more or less neutral as far as I'm concerned. So, it's not really giving us a humongous bias in the short term. That does imply that if Bitcoin, does essentially lose this area, we will very likely retest the lows of last week, or Bitcoin will retest the lows of last week. I'm going to be sitting in my chair and doing fuck all, but maybe you are too. I don't know. Maybe you're a Bitcoin watching this channel. Who knows? But yes, retesting that low right there. Of course, calling for lows below this $25,000 number. Still, I do think is a bit premature, as we'll go over later. The real question is, in my opinion, do we see a retest of these lows, or does Bitcoin try again to the upside next week? So other than that, we can now go into, after I get my notes ready over here, the 2-day time frame. We saw a 2-day time frame volatility versus stochastic momentum signature fire off on the last closure. Yeah, in the last closure, and it looks kind of ugly on this chart actually. Let me just double check. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. Still, I just want to be reminding myself of the current momentum pivot, which is 25,700. So that is to say, Bitcoin come back down to that level, retest it, and as long as it remains above, still, I would be looking for lows within this region right here. Of course, when volatility is starting to really expand, which it hasn't just yet, I would really start to reference that stochastic momentum number a lot more heavily. But in this case, we can see that it's so far a bit of a it's a bit of a weak move. What we really want to see is 2-day time frame BBWP representing volatility get above that 15 or so percentile marker, not just with the BBWP itself, but also with the moving average, both having positive slopes simultaneously. That's usually where the magic happens for those sort of setups. And then in this case, this would favor the upside, obviously, as it does have a greater probability I do believe in the upper 70% for follow through in that direction, as long as it maintains above this pivot. So that's going to be a big one for, I guess, the more long term. And then the weekly, as we went over, would be kind of like a pressure on setup, essentially, meaning that we'd essentially expect Bitcoin to continue the upside next week. Now, if you do recall, coming into the month of September, I did say that, best case scenario for September to the upside, I do still think is, low 27s, to be quite frank with you. That was based off September statistics, and also, just based off September statistics. Realistically, I do think Bitcoin's going to be eating up time until October, and that's when Q4 starts, and seasonality typically does favor Q4. Not always, these things are never 100%, and we'll go over that maybe in like a week, the stats on that, but, for what it's worth, generally speaking, for Bitcoin, has been nice to it. We've seen all of actually the parabolic blow off tops happen in Q4. Not that this would be one here. This would be still kind of like a intra-transitionary market. Anyways, now, so it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In fact, I don't really think I'm painting that picture right now. But if we go over here to the daily time frame for Bitcoin, I posted a chart on Twitter yesterday suggesting that, or not suggesting, but saying that if Bitcoin does close here or lower, we will see daily RSI hidden bearish divergence, which, yeah, has been confirmed. In this case, I would say that, if you're looking for the breakdown from this, we really need to see below the low of the 18th of September. That's going to be about 26,350 or so. Thus far, Bitcoin, still, I guess there's a little bit of hopium right here, as we'll go over later, but this can obviously bleed into the 2-day time frame, which is not closing today, it's closing tomorrow, but this one would also have the same possibility for hidden bearish divergence between this high, or let me just put it on, yeah, this high, and then, of course, on the RSI, this high and this high, as it is making higher highs alongside what would be lower highs on price action right now. But again, this high on the 2-day time frame would not be confirmed until Bitcoin really comes back down and at least trades below the 18th of September. So it's in the cards, yes, but it's not there just yet. That's why I do want to have a little bit more of a balanced and neutral tone on this video, just because if that does happen, very likely we can expect at least to move back down, to the mid 25s. And then the real question is, does like the early September low hold or not? And if it doesn't, then we can be looking much lower. But for right now, still there are more things than not that do say that this is a nice bottoming region. The question is, how does it kind of get out of this region? Does it do this? Maybe. Does it do this? Maybe. Does it go sideways forever? Most likely. But it's a great stablecoin, actually. Anyways, yeah, so we've gone through that. I think now would be a good time to go into the HPDR indicator here, 4-hour time frame. The ranges have shifted, actually, since we spoke about them last 2 days ago here. We can see that the 4-hour range low is actually shifted down from what we saw before. So before we were looking at 26.6, now it is down around 26.3, which is actually pretty much directly in alignment with that low that we were looking at. So again, I would be looking at this as, a bit of a hopium actually for short term, putting in a higher low. What else would be kind of, reminiscent of that? We do see that the 4-hour HPDRO, which is not a public indicator right now, or not even available in any sense or format, is starting to turn around here. This is essentially representing directional volatility. It's still kind of an experimental one. Caretaker's still working on it in the background, but I do think that's going to be probably the next big thing, to be honest with you. I think it's gonna replace a lot of the tools that we use, just this whole suite of HPDR indicators. And in this case, we do see a bit of a trend line coming in from these regions. I don't know how much I trust that on volatility based oscillators especially, but I would be interested to see if this one does work out. More importantly, it is starting to turn around right here and getting back above that moving average. So it would be suggesting that the short-term downside volatility is waiting. We should be looking for a corrective move in the short term. Volatility itself further confirms that, or is about to further confirm that, as we do see that volatility has kind of hit this this double peak right here. A lot of the time when I see something like that, it is a reversal. Almost always, actually. Although the best ones do happen when it's like this, in like the really critical zone, a little bit higher. But this could be another example of such things. So yeah. Anyways, I think that is going to bring us into our next chart, the last one. Just going to go through stochastic momentum for Bitcoin here. Let's start it off with. Let's go here. Let's start off with the weekly, and then we'll go down. Weekly time frame, as we already went over this, but 27,300. That's the most obvious area yet again. Bitcoin above there, very likely Bitcoin's moving its way back up towards 30,000 plus. 5-day time frame is going to be showing 25,800. Again, very much around the early September lows, or was that right? Yeah, early September lows. And then we have the 3-day time frame, also going to be headed up above 25.4. The 2-day time frame also going to be headed up, as we spoke about earlier, above 25.7. So all of the higher term timeframes are really starting to kind of coalesce with each other. The daily time frame is going to turn down below 27,000. I'm curious what it is on CME. CME is showing 26.2. So Interesting right there. 12-hour time frame is going to be showing downside pressure below 27,450. Okay, so short term still a bit of caution there. 6-hour time frame, same thing. 27,100 going to be the current pivot, and 4-hour and hourly are going to be showing 26.6. Getting a little bit more down towards the critical zone there, and the hourly is actually vertical above 26.6. See a lot of disagreement between these, so I'm not getting too much of an edge from there. From the medium and lower term timeframes, actually, the edges had from the daily, 2-day, 3-day, and 5-day, I believe right now, which are starting to kind of flip around into a sideways consolidation, and it'd still probably be looking for a bullish resolution of this. At least that's statistically speaking more likely. I should probably also remind myself to talk about these September statistics. We'll actually go into that. Or should we go into that for right now? You know what? Fuck it. I'll bring it up. We got a little bit more time. Why not? Why not, man? Why not? Just kind of remind myself, and perhaps you as well, what we're looking at typically for September. So let me just bring it up over here. Where did you go? Hey, why? Oh, derp. Going the wrong way. All right, sweet. Here we go. Okay. So here's all of September's. Of course, September has been mostly a down month overall. But as we know, if we reference the September quad witchings, from the September quad witching to the end of the month, that is typically a positive gain. In fact, over 80% of the time it has been, and 8 of the last 8 Septembers have posted positive gains from the quad witching date to the end of September. We saw the quad witching date last week, 1 week ago from today, on the 15th. And the average gain in these times has been about 5.25%. So let's actually measure out now that we do have these numbers in place. Let's go here to the weekly. And what would 5% up from last week's closure look like? Well, we already saw about 3.75%. So, yeah. Could very easily say that that's already played out. 5% puts you more around 27,800, very close to 28,000. So, what's most likely here for September? I actually do think sideways probably, maybe playing within this range mostly, and then October is probably when you're going to see your resolution. I know that's probably not what people want to hear, but it's going to take time. I mean, this whole fucking thing's taken time, basically since, the start of summer especially, just testing everyone's patience, but that's what markets do. And in this case, I suspect that September is going to do a little bit more of that. And, whether you're bullish or bearish, you're probably looking more for an October resolution. I highly doubt Bitcoin's going to break to the downside, like significantly to the downside in September, just like I kind of highly doubt that it's going to break out to the upside here too. I think it's very likely we've already seen the high for September, and now it's just range time yet again. Actually, speaking of, just looking at the monthly, yeah. Not much going on there. So, I think I'll leave this. I'll leave it at that. We'll come back at this one tomorrow, see what else is, see where those weeklies kind of painted themselves and see where that kind of shifts things coming into October. And with that said, as always, I'm going to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Saturday.